the number one reason why people unsubscribe. Now, I usually talk about this in terms of email. So keep in mind that that's what the primary subject is going to really be around. But I want you to take this into consideration for all of your social media platform, not just email. Are you finding that people are unsubscribing from your channel on YouTube? Are you finding that people are unsubscribing from your email list? Are you finding that people are just really just kind of disconnecting from you on your social media? And I'm going to tell you one of the reasons why this may be taking place and how you can, kind of combat this very, very disappointing type of action. So I'm in my Friday attire, so I'm super relaxed today. And we're just going to have a cute, quick conversation, nothing serious. But before I get started, I want you just to imagine, right? So I want you to imagine that you have just put in a lot of work creating this amazing email campaign, right? You feel really good about the subject line. You feel really good about the images that you put into the email. You feel really good about your content, right? You're really, really proud of it. And you feel very confident that your audience is going to be like, oh my God, I love this. But then the next morning you wake up, you check your stats and you're like, what the heck? There's like this noticeable decrease in the number of subscribers. And just like anyone, myself included, and probably any other creator, you're going to feel a little disappointed. It's going to sting. It's going to hurt. And you're going to start asking yourself questions. And these questions generally run along the lines of, well, did I mess up the subject line? Did I, send too many emails last week? Or maybe the content just wasn't, just didn't hit the mark, or it wasn't something that they was interested in. And it's really, really very easy to kind of jump to all those conclusions. It's easy to blame things like spam filters. I've been a victim of having, information sent to me and I'm like, no, I don't have it. And then I'm like, wait, hold on, let me check my spam. And guess what? It's hanging over in the spam. But that's not always the case, right? It could be in our mind that we just have some irrelevant topics. And all of these things can definitely play a role, but that's probably not the single biggest mistake that we're making, right? Usually people, have shown some kind of signs of slowly stopping their engagement with you. It could be, especially if we're talking about emails, where they're just not opening their emails that you're sending them. They feel just kind of disconnected. And so by the time they finally click the unsubscribe button, right, it has been a decision that's been building for a while, and they're pretty much okay with the fact that they're not going to receive any more messages from you. So your question may be, well, what is the number one reason? What is the secret? What is the problem? I want to keep my subscribers around. How do I do this? How do I get them to focus? How do I get them to continue to want to hear, what I'm saying? And the number one thing that generally drives your subscribers away from you is going to be this one word: a lack of engagement. And engagement is the one word, even though I put lack of in front of it. Here's the thing, right? The biggest reason that people generally unsubscribe is simply because they stop feeling engaged. Okay. In email marketing, engagement means that your subscribers are literally interacting with your email. And this is important because you are not there. Like, your email is representing you, is representing your brand, and is representing, right, the interests, hopefully, of those individuals who are receiving your email. So when they stop engaging, right, then chances are they're going to eventually unsubscribe, right? And that means that they're not opening your emails up. They're not clicking your links. It means that they're not even reading it. So, for example, if someone hasn't opened or clicked an email in over a month, that's a pretty clear sign that they're losing interest. And this is for those individuals who are making certain that they're sending email on a regular basis, right? So understanding what engagement looks like for your audience is going to be really key. And making certain that you are giving them something that they can be actively engaged in, right? And this could be anything from, hey, click this latest video to find out more information, or, simply reply yes to receive, 15, 20% off, or here's an offer, simply redeem it by clicking this button. Give them something to keep them around, something to keep them interested. And one of the things that I wanted to do today is that, a lot of times when I'm doing my videos, I don't go into a lot of the definitions. So one of the things that I really want to talk about is, what is engagement? There are a lot of things that can help you understand how engaged your audience is, right? This is going to be where they're going to show their interest. And I mentioned this a little bit earlier in the beginning when I was talking about, well, when was the last time they opened the email? When was the last time, they clicked the link? When was the last time they commented, they shared something with you? How much time are they essentially spending with your content, or even making purchases, which is super important. That's that conversion. And it matters because the more engaged your audience is, the more loyal they become. Engaged audiences are more likely to buy from you again and again and again. They're more likely to share your content, and they're more likely to stick around for the long haul. Okay. I know for a fact that if I am being engaged, and that's from, simply just receiving birthday type coupons, or just various types of promotionals that are things that I've purchased in the past, I'm more likely to buy it again at that discount. And chances are you could probably think of an instance where you signed up for something and then you receive, maybe another promotional on your birthday or around the holiday, and you was like, well, you know what, I really enjoyed XYZ last time, so I'm going to go ahead and purchase it again. So companies with strong engagement strategies keep about 89% of their customers, compared to those who only have about 33%, which is really on the low end. And that really kind of shows that your strategy is a little bit weaker, and that's concerning. I want to show you some eye-opening stat, okay, about email, about social media, and about retention. So I want to make certain that I say this properly. So, excuse me. So I am going to put up a actual chart here so that you can see it. But for emails, the average open rate is only about 35.6%. Yeah. The average click-through rate sits around 2.6%. And the bounce rates are low. Okay. They're generally about less than 1%, like 0.7, meaning that you have a lot of opportunity to actually engage, because a lot of the email addresses that you're receiving are actually valid email addresses. Now, how often someone checked their email is a little bit different. Now, I am one of those people who have several different email addresses, and they're for different things. Like, I have one where if I'm in a store, I'm signing up for promotionals, I know I need to go here and look here for those types of emails. So you have to just kind of be mindful of that. People may have multiple email addresses, and sometimes they may not always check all of them on a regular basis. Just one of those things we have to account for as we're looking at our stats. Social media, right? So let's talk about social media. The average engagement rate across all platforms is 0.7%. So that's less than 1%. The Instagram carousels and reels that were very popular like last year, and they are still popular, but probably not getting as much of an engagement as they once were. They're at like 1.2% in terms of engagement. And nearly 39% of the world uses Facebook monthly, right? So with that being said, there's a lot of people who are spending time on these platforms. But even with them spending that much time on the platform, they're still not engaging nowhere nearly as much as individuals who are in your email cycle. Okay. Retention. So every 1% in customer satisfaction really boosts retention rates by like 5%. So you talk about a great return of investment. Investing in making certain that your customers are satisfied and that they are getting what they want and that you're following up with them, it's going to bring so much return in terms of loyalty. And that is what keeps your customer around when they feel loyal to your brand. And then, of course, 95% unhappy customers, they really tell others about their bad experiences. And this, of course, could affect your engagement. Now, we know this because how many of us look at reviews when we're booking hotel rooms or even vacations, right? How about when you are going to a restaurant? You want to know, like, how was the, service? How was the food? Before you go and spend your money. So a lot of customer feedback is used for other customers or potential customers to make decisions. So we always are really concerned about making certain that we have a good strategy for retaining those customers. And one of the best ways to do that is by making certain that our customer satisfaction is up. And for email marketing, that's making certain that you are providing relevant information, right? So these stats, what they really do for us is they really help us by providing us what we want to call a cheat code. And this cheat code is helping us make smarter decisions in marketing, making smarter decisions and making certain that we understand what kind of engagement strategy we should use. Understanding any kind of open and click-through rates is going to help us really focus on whether or not our subject line and our content and even the time that we're sending the actual email is appropriate. Now, if we wanted to look at this from a social media standpoint, which is, what we did when we looked at some of the statistics a little bit earlier, when we talk about social media and engagement, like if you can imagine yourself sitting there and you're kind of going through your TikTok videos or your Instagram reels, you probably can go through about 25 of them in like a minute. And how many of them are you actually engaging with, right? So when we're talking about engagement, in looking at our statistics, this kind of helps us prioritize post types. Well, is my reel getting more engagement or my carousels getting more engagement? Like what is getting more engagement? And based on that information, you know what kind of content you should put out more frequently. So some small improvements also will help. And this helps in, terms of ensuring that your customer kind of understand how you are there to assist them and to ensure that they're satisfied with whatever the service or product that you're offering them. And this helps keep those customers around. Like I mentioned earlier, customer loyalty, right? We want to cultivate that. We want to make certain that we are ensuring that those customers stay with us in a long-term relationship. And we do this by trying to minimize as much as possible any kind of bad experience, to contain it and to keep it from spreading from your new customers, okay? These numbers, they're going to tell a story. I'm sorry, my allergies are just like crazy right now, but they're going to tell a story. They're going to tell you what's working. They're going to tell you what you need to kind of tweak. They're going to tell you how you can better connect with your audience. And, what are you going to do, right? When you're kind of looking to improve, like, how is this going to, how do we do this? Now, I am going to show a little bit of video. Actually, no, I'm not. I am going to have a little bit of information I'm going to put on the screen here in just a moment, but I want to talk about how to boost your engagement. So you want to keep your audience hooked. And I'm going to give you a couple of strategies that can potentially help you do this. Or I won't call them strategies. I'll call them tips because they're going to be real short and it's going to be up to you to implement them at your leisure and, of course, in the most appropriate manner for your content. But one thing that we talk about here on this channel all the time is about making certain that you are personalizing the email. And you personalize email by including their first name, right? So you're like, good morning, Janice, or hey, friend, or you're like something that kind of makes them aware of the fact that, look, you're not just another number on my email list. So personalize it, and then segment your list so people get content that they actually want, okay, that matters to them. And I know if you have not been segmenting your um, your email list, it can be a little difficult to kind of go back and reinvent that process. So join the 8 week the 8 week cohort to kind of learn, well, what do we do when we already have a list, we haven't segmented, and we really don't know how to implement some of the things that you're mentioning here on the channel. Well, we'll talk about that, okay, as well as building out a new list. You want to make sure that you're using clear and, of course, compelling call to actions. And call to actions are things you want your reader to do, right? If you want them to redeem a coupon, if you want them to click on a link, if you want them to watch a video, even if you want them to purchase your latest and greatest new whatever, then you want to let them know that, okay? You can also incorporate other things for engagement, such as polls and quizzes, or ask questions, okay? Um, Offering exclusive perks and discounts. And of course, these are, again, our tips for helping you keep your audience hooked or boost engagement, okay? But some of the other things that you want to do is you can offer those exclusive perks and discounts. You are in control of your business, so you know where you can afford to kind of incentivize your customers to buy more, or to look at this particular new product or service. You can also have early access. That doesn't cost a thing, right? It just means that you're going to release it or allow your individuals who agree on your email list to gain access to it a lot sooner. And then, have some content that feels like it is a reward for them being a subscriber. So have that exclusive content. Hey, look, only subscribers know about XYZ. And then, of course, we can always ask for feedback and make sure to make sure that we are understanding, how they're receiving, and how they feel the information, basically how relevant it is to them. But once we ask for that feedback, we want to make sure that we respond to them, right? Because people love to feel like they're being heard. That's why I invite you to always make comments here on the video. I love to hear from you. Like I mentioned earlier in one of my videos, I love to hear the good, the bad, and the savage. Now, keep in mind, I'm going to leave what I want to leave on the table, and I'll take that criticism if I need to. But respond to people's feedback. And then, of course, welcome new subscribers with a strong onboarding sequence that highlight the benefits of sticking around. So you may not email your list every other day, but when you get a new person on board, you need to have some kind of automated email sequence set up so that they know, hey, this is where I'm at, this is what I can expect, and these are generally, our rules of engagement in terms of data rhythm, what you normally see, posts, and those types of things. So go ahead and build out a strong onboarding sequence for them. And then, of course, use multiple channels, email, get them over there on your social media platforms. If you have some kind of community or other app that you're using that is going to enhance the experience of being a part of your email list, then go ahead and let them know, and invite them to utilize it. So what do you want to track, right? And that, of course, that kind of concluded that first portion. So we're going to move on to what to track. And so you want to keep an eye on a couple of metrics, okay? Because this is where you're going to be able to measure engagement. So you want to have a good idea of what your open rate is. You want to have a good idea of what your click-through rates and your bounce rates for email. Now, if you do not have a email system that you're using that can readily give you this information, then I want to encourage you to check out my affiliate link inside of this video, and you can sign up for Kit for free, and it has all of those metrics there to help you track your email performance. Okay. Also, you want to make sure that you understand what your engagement rate is, your session lengths, and this is in terms of daily and monthly activities, right? Retention and churn rate, right? Your retention is how many people stick around, and your churn rate is how many people, give you the deuces and be like, out, I'm out of here, right? So you want to understand what your rate of of gain and your rate of losses are, and how often new features or other types of offers are adopted. All right, so that's not a whole lot of things that you want to track. Well, it is kind of, sort of, but they're all very good metrics to know, because each of those metrics, like I mentioned earlier, it's going to help you with some decision making. So, why do we want to understand engagement, right? What is the psychology of engagement? People unsubscribe when they don't feel connected or valued, right? This ties back to a principle that is called the reciprocity principle, right? When people give you their email, they expect something of value in return, like helpful content, special deals, or insider information. And if they don't feel like there's a balance, they're disengaged eventually and unsubscribe. Studies show that about 17 to 18% of users unsubscribe when content feels irrelevant. Plus, things like curiosity, personality, social proof, they see all of these things, right? And these are things that will help them engage, and that will keep their interest. So again, when we talk about, the psychology of engagement, think about the reciprocity principle, where if I'm giving you something, I'm expecting a little something in return. I've said all this just to remind you that the number one reason people unsubscribe, whether it's from your email list or from one of your social media platforms, is because they no longer feel engaged. At the end of the day, engagement is going to be the biggest factor in keeping your subscribers around. And if your email consistently delivers value and sparks interaction, yay, right? Your audience will stick with you. However, the key is knowing what engagement looks like for your unique audience and always working to improve it. And don't forget, engagement is a two-way street. So ask your subscribers for feedback, invite them to share stories, and make your relationship with them a real conversation. All right. Now, if you focus on engagement and you're just avoiding unsubscribing, you can build a community that grows stronger every day. And that's what we really, really want. Okay. Again, I want you to definitely like the video, comment, share. We also still have open the 8-week cohort for email marketing for beginners. To register or to apply, simply click the link in the description or the show notes, and we will reach out to you from there. Have a wonderful day, and thank you again for hanging out with me here on the Biz Strategy Studio. Bye.